Thanks for joining us for another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum where all voices matter. Today's guest, Jasraj Singh Hallan, is the Member of Parliament for Calgary Forest Lawn and has been recently appointed by Opposition Leader Pierre Poilievre as the Shadow Finance Minister. Jas, welcome and congratulations to your new role.
Hey, thanks so much, Tony, and thanks for having me on your show today.
For sure, my pleasure. I guess we'll start with the obvious question. What are your priorities in this new role that you have?
Well, the priorities that are top of mind are number one is tackling just inflation, the same just inflation that has made the price of everything go up, whether we look at groceries, whether we look at gas, whether we look at home heating today. All of the increase in prices have been caused by just inflation. Justin Trudeau has borrowed and spent on the backs of hardworking Canadians and without any restraint whatsoever. So he needs to rein in his spending and make sure that we're not borrowing on further generations of Canadians. So that's our number one priority. We want to get rid of the carbon tax and any other tax increases that Justin Trudeau keeps trying to put on the backs of Canadians.
Yeah, and of course, your role, it's obviously a high-profile role, so you're interacting with Prime Minister Trudeau, but also with Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland. So how do you keep her accountable as well?
Absolutely. Look, first of all, I'm absolutely honored that Pierre Poilievre would put such a big responsibility on my shoulders. Obviously, you know, I have huge shoes to fill. But in talking with Pierre, what I'm going to be bringing to the table is my own experience. Someone who's came here from Dubai, moved here when I was 5, into the riding I get to represent today. And Pierre and myself both come from humble beginnings where we grew up with not very much or very, very little. I had 2 hardworking parents who worked, 2 jobs sometimes at a time, and literally with the sweat of their brow, helped us, to live the Canadian dream today. But under Justin Trudeau and the finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, less and less people want to come to Canada or can come to Canada because of the broken immigration system. But many can't survive. They can't realize that Canadian dream that myself and Pierre got to realize because that opportunity in Canada has decreased so much. So when we look at the difference between the Liberal benches and given the Prime Minister and is someone who's been spoon-fed that has a silver spoon in his mouth, compared to our team who's coming with real experience, that's what we're going to be coming to with the table, to be the voice for Canadians who just want to realize the Canadian dream, that want to have a safe and affordable future for their kids so that they can survive and they can help contribute to Canada. And again, with these disastrous policies, with this unreined spending that Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland have done, less and less Canadians are able to survive today, and more Canadians are being pushed to food banks and to homeless shelters that are up 30% in this country. We see the pricing of food go up. We also see home heating. That's going to go up 50 to 100%. This is all because of a few things. Just inflation by the borrowing, and this Liberal government who has continued to attack our responsible Canadian energy sector. This ideology of leaving it in the ground has left billions of dollars of investment in the ground. And today what we see is people's home heating bills up 50 to 100%. And that's because they should have supported that energy industry in the first place.
Yeah, you raise a few really important points. Obviously, the counter narrative from the Liberal government is, "Oh, there's inflation everywhere." How do you answer that?
Well, it's simple. If you don't believe us, it's just inflation. Look at the potential Liberal leader candidate, Mark Carney, who used to be the Bank of Canada's governor. He said inflation in Canada is a domestic story. And let's look one step further. The Bank of Canada governor has come out and said that inflation in Canada today is homegrown. And so Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland can blame others as they do always and say it's everyone else's problem. But this is the same government before the pandemic had borrowed $100 billion, during the pandemic spent almost $500 billion, $200 billion of which wasn't even COVID related. So how can anyone trust or believe a Liberal government that has continued to borrow on the backs of Canadians to say that this is someone else's problem. This is the typical Liberal talking point.
Right.
It's always someone else's problem. And the more Justin Trudeau's policies fail, the more expensive it gets for Canadians.